everybody. Welcome back to our Walking Dead reviews. This week we are looking at Fear the Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 8, the mid-season finale, entitled No One's Gone. And that is a big lie, isn't it, Jason?
That is a big lie.
And, of course, with me, as always, is Jason for our Walking Dead reviews. Alright. Yeah.
Yeah. Something big happened.
Did something big happen, or did just something happen?
Well, I'd like to think of it as something big. You know, Madison was the main character of Fear. If I had to pick one, anyway.
She was the closest thing to a Rick Grimes in the show, wasn't she?
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, she's the person whose journey we had followed up until this point. You know, so it's kind of shocking. I think, you know, especially given how many major characters have died off this season, it is a little surprising that they would go ahead and pull the trigger on it.
It was very shocking. I did not ever expect them to kill off Madison like this. In fact, I think it was a couple weeks ago where I said that I thought the storyline was going to probably inevitably lead to a standoff between Daniel and Madison, who at this point could very well be dead at this point, and maybe we just don't get to see deaths on these shows anymore.
Yeah. It is a little disappointing, especially for someone as big as her, you know, and following our little group now, I believe that Alicia is the only member of the original family still left.
No, the original family, yes, but I think you can throw Strand in there as well, at least as far as the original cast.
Yeah, that's true. So Alicia and Strand. And then we've got a new ragtag group, I guess, at the end of this episode. So, did you want to walk through the events of this episode? I guess we'll go chronologically.
Well, no. Why should we go chronologically? The show hasn't all season. No, I mean, okay, so let's do our usual setup on this. Your overall feelings of this week's episode.
It felt off. Everything about it felt off. You know, some of the interactions between the characters, specifically Alicia and Morgan in particular, stood out to me. You know, the way that they killed off Madison, and a lot of little details, you know, stuck out as off kilter. You know, especially for a show that's been, I would say, to a relative degree, very detail-oriented. It felt like a lot of those minor details that we usually see included fell flat, you know. The Coliseum, for one. I know you and I talked about this a little bit before the show, but it felt weird to me to see that many zombies left over in the Coliseum after, you know, this big fire, this dramatic end that Madison brought about. It was surprising to see that many still there, almost as much as I think we saw originally there when they got poured in by the vultures.
Can I just comment on that real quick, that walkers and fire in both shows have always had really weird and different reactions, depending on the situation. Sometimes they ignore it, sometimes they walk towards it, sometimes they avoid it. And in this case, they were all lathered up with oil, and they were just walking around burnt. But yeah, I didn't see a lot of them dead. I suppose they could say, well, some of them are dead over there. Yeah, well, you might as well say something like that because you've been doing it happened over there all season.
Well, and especially, you know, with the amount of accelerant that they supposedly used on these zombies, you know, fires started with an accelerant can burn human beings down to bone or reduce them to ash. And with that level of fire and heat that would be generated by that amount of flame,
yeah,
I'm very surprised that we didn't see more incinerated zombies.
So let me see. You know, I agree with you. Overall, this was a really weird mid-season finale. I don't think that we're ever going to know the extent of the hodgepodge that has been this first half of the season. This whole first half at this point has been from episode 1 to episode 8, we're going to tell you a story, but we're going to, at the end of this, it's going to be a reset. The show's reset. We're starting over.
Yeah.
It very much feels that way. What were some of your favorite things about this week's episode?
You know, the fight scene had one moment. It was kind of amusing to see the RPG blow the door off of the SWAT van, and the Al looked very surprised.
You know, here's the thing about that. I was surprised when that happened. Like, walkers weren't just pouring in at that point. I mean, obviously it would take them some time to climb up on top of each other, but I mean, I'm just surprised that they weren't just like trying to climb in there, and within 5 minutes they weren't just all getting devoured.
Yeah, they did. Especially during some of the conflict in the Coliseum, it felt, very much like, where did the walkers go?
Right, it was all very convenient with the walkers. Sometimes they were the biggest threat, and they were these impending things, and sometimes like, well, Allison could just walk right out into the field and confront them now.
Yeah,
or Alicia, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this episode. I don't like that Madison died, much like I didn't like how that Nick got killed. But we're reviewing the show, but I think the show deserves to see what we're going to get in August with this reset, with the second half. Where do we go from here? God, it better be worth it. You better give me a damn good reason why we skipped the last year and a half to 2 years with these characters, because there's a whole lot of cool stuff that we know happened. That we're not even going to see a little bit of it.
No.
Them all getting back together, the encounters they have together, trying to survive after what happened at the dam, seeing Nick in whatever horrible position he was in that Madison found him in, and actually building up the Coliseum, the stadium, and what that must have been like. In which in both cases now, with both shows, with the prison and even to a much greater extent here with the stadium, we've missed this growing process that these places turned into. We just kind of, it was fine because we did have a much longer process in the original show with season 3 going into season 4, but still, like, several months passed. And then next thing you know, they're just this well-established group. And I get it for story reason, but I think there's some interesting stories to tell that they could have spent a couple episodes at one point telling us these things and showing how this happened.
Yeah, this season had a lot of missed opportunities, I felt like.
Oh my God, yeah. They could have done the next season or two based on the things that they've skipped.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And I get it, Morgan's a great character, but you have yet to convince me why he's so important that we had to do that.
And touching on the topic of Morgan, we go from Morgan in the flagship show, who, while he's definitely got his persuasive points, is not able to easily convince everyone on. He's not able to convince Rick that everything is right or everything is wrong, or same with any of the other cast. And now that he's come over to Fear, it feels like Morgan's the magical plot point to get everyone to be a big happy family. Anytime that there's been a conflict between our two groups of main characters this season, Morgan's been the one to magically talk down the aggressor, whoever it may be. And we saw that come to a head in this episode with Alicia facing down Charlie, literally facing down the person who murdered her brother. And Morgan just happens to say the right words to make all of that anger and vengeance go away, especially for Alicia, who has been built up as this character. She's very much so the kind of person who will kill for revenge. And we've seen this again and again throughout the seasons. It just felt like Morgan's the magic plot armor that the show keeps pulling out to, get everyone to get along.
It's very unrealistic, and I understand we're talking about a show with zombies, but it's very, even in the context of what they've created in this world, it just, he's not that guy. In fact, all you saw before in the original show was Morgan attempting to do this and fumbling through. Because as right or wrong as Morgan may be, in this world, life and death and how you pursue those things, that is life. And it's not to say that it's going to stay that way, but that's what these people have learned, especially with the circumstances and the trauma that this group in particular is dealing with right then and there. It's easy to lose it watching the show week by week, but I don't believe they're more than 3 days past Nick getting killed.
Yeah.
And I think 3 days is even actually being kind of generous. It might just be 2. I'm sorry, but if some kid killed my brother, you're
3 days.
You're
3
dead.
days.
You're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead. Sorry,
Especially,
kid.
yeah, especially with the wounds that fresh,
Well, and having just lost their mom, which they apparently knew. Well, yeah, not even apparent. They did. They knew that it happened.
Yeah. And that, the fact that they make no comment on it throughout this entire season, I get that it was supposed to be a big twist, but that's not how people act.
Right.
We didn't see any sort of grieving throughout this entire season, which they would obviously be doing for their mom.
This whole thing was a mess. It really was. And talking with you about this right now is showing me just how much of a mess it was. It's very disappointing. In what we need right now more than anything is actually someone who's gone, which is Nick. And I think having the character of Nick there right now makes this a lot better and a lot easier to deal with. And not just because of the circumstances of his death and the fact that the 10-year-old killer is just hanging out eating noodles with them. But just the fact that having the character there, I think, would just help with the whole storyline.
Yeah. Like you said, I hope that they pull this back in a good way in this next half season.
I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind the fact that they shift these characters like this. In fact, something that I was kind of hoping that Fear would do eventually is will it have the sack to shift direction like this, and lose major characters, not just a couple of them, but all of them, and minor characters are now stepping up as major characters for their group. And that, I think that's fine. And I think that's actually something that needs to be shown in a show like this in order to get that dynamic going. Unfortunately, with Fear the Walking Dead is that it's lost its focus as to what it's supposed to be. And it's not a show about the initial days of the zombie apocalypse or the initial occurrences of the zombie apocalypse. It's about something completely different now. So it loses the strength of losing these characters. Now it just looks like a show that doesn't know what the hell it's doing.
Yeah, I can't agree with that more. That's what you and I have pretty much been saying throughout this entire season. And a lot of the issues that we've seen in previous episodes all just seem to culminate in this finale.
It's a damn shame. I'm definitely more upset about losing Madison than I am Nick. I loved the character of Madison. I mean, somebody who had been through some of the things that she had, which we never did find all of them out. There was a huge backstory to Madison that we're never going to find now. But just the fact that she was this kind of rough and tough school counselor, and that what she'd been through in her life, in large part, gave her the tools necessary to keep a calm head in this world. I was really enjoying her story, and so now I'm going to get to my biggest gripe here, which is the actual I don't even know what you call it, how they lay out and how they show us the scenario at the stadium and how she dies, which is one of the weakest things I have seen in either show.
Yeah. We've had characters sort of die off screen before, Daniel being the major one that jumps to mind for me.
Which comes back. He comes back, but now since I don't really see a reason to bring Daniel back anymore.
Yeah, it does feel a little off. Now that pretty much everyone who knows him is dead, other than Strand and Alicia. Those would be the only two characters who even know who he is.
Right. Well, and I guess I could see him having some vengeance towards Strand, but I really thought that a scenario between Daniel and Madison, because Madison being one of, if not the leader of the group most of the time that he was around, or at least a catalyst for a lot of the decision making, really I think would have been a good story for him to actually come after her. He thinks Strand is a joke. He has no respect for Strand, and I don't really think the character of Daniel would even care to go and find him, let alone deal with him. The fact that he's out of his life, I think, would make him happy enough. But now I question if he's even alive at all. We don't see him die, but now we haven't seen Madison die.
No, and Daniel, while one of my favorite characters, was still not necessarily he was a I wouldn't say a main character, but he was an important secondary character.
Oh,
but
no, yeah, I would put him in the top 5 from the original cast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could see him dying off screen, but it feels like a disservice to kill Madison off screen. You know what I mean?
It really was. You know, with situations like what we're dealing with in the main show now with Andrew Lincoln, he's going to be making his exit next season, and they said shortly after his report, we haven't had a chance to talk about this. Lauren Collins she's going to be leaving after 9 too. She doesn't just have a reduced schedule; she's actually leaving with season 9 in addition to the reduced schedule. Both of them are leaving.
Yeah,
and I get, and I actually appreciate why they don't show Carl blowing his own brains out on the show. That, I think, is going a little too far.
Yeah.
That I get, and they had characters react to it who were right outside, and that's okay. But, I mean, is this how this is going to go? I mean, why show Glenn's death, as horrible as that was, but not Madison's? I think, quite honestly, these main characters like this, they deserve their death to be shown. Travis's was a little bit different. He gets shot. They show as much as I think they can. They don't need to show him fall and hit the rocks. But, I mean, someone like Madison, I think it would have done the character and done the show a huge service to show her get ripped apart.
Yeah. You know, or at least, you know, if she's going up in flames, show her go up in flames.
Right. And this whole, what almost photogenic way that they're showing us, you know, with the slow motion and, you know, there's practically still shots and stuff. It's just weak. I think it would have, honestly, it would have hit a lot harder and been a lot more dramatic to actually show us in as gritty a way as possible the events of what happened at the stadium, leading to her heroic decision and then her unfortunate death.
Yeah.
And instead, we got something that was kind of attuned to a comic book, which I'm a big fan of, but just did not work, one, for this show, but secondly, in the context of what we were dealing with at the moment.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with you there. But, for better or for worse, you know, Madison's gone, and we will see if this mostly new slate that they start off with at the second half season can pull Fear back into being the show that I know it can be.
Well, so there is the positive here. You know, while I do think that some of these characters deserve to die and some of them will die, I still stand by June, not Laura, not Naomi, but June getting her end by the end of this season. Charlie's got to go. I'm sorry. I will not accept Charlie being alive. And they will probably even spend a whole episode of, you know, working on the feels on, you know, them trying to explain why Charlie isn't killed immediately by Alicia or Strand.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, or Luciana, his girlfriend. Any of them. Pick a motive. Jesus Christ. I cannot accept that. I cannot make that leap. I cannot make the leap. I'm sorry. She's got to look at the flowers, or she's just got to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
I just can't accept it.
No, and that's one of, I think, the biggest glaring things.
But, you know, that being said, you know, these new characters, this group is an interesting group. I will say that as a positive, minus Charlie, and not that I don't like Charlie. She just doesn't belong there. I'm not going to buy it. But putting that aside, you do have an interesting scenario here. Here we are in the heart of Texas, with this group that has been completely destroyed. This hodgepodge group that does not really even get along. I think that's the most interesting part, is that we do have a very well diverse group of people here who, after this long in the zombie apocalypse, at a time where Fear is actually ahead of the main show, and, you know, they're trying to get along and trying to make it happen. That is interesting.
Yeah. Nah. It'll be exciting. Let's see what they do with it.
Do you think that part of my point about the whole thing with Madison's death? Do you think when it comes to Rick and Maggie, we're gonna get fakey, horrible deaths like that for them.
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not too. That's pretty sucky
Yeah.
cheap, as my brothers and I used to say when we were kids. Sucky cheap.
I'm gonna be very, very upset if they don't kill Rick in a good way.
Oh, I want Walker Rick. God damn it!
Oh, I know you do.
I want and he's my favorite character out of both these shows. But I want Walker Rick, and I want Daryl to put him down.
Don't think that's gonna happen though.
It should though, shouldn't it?
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting. You don't think that's? Do you think? I mean, it should maybe not Daryl, but somebody from the show. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe Carol or someone. Maybe it should be Carol.
Yeah. I have a feeling like whoever, if they do go zombie Rick route, whoever offs him is gonna be the one to step up as the new leader.
Right. We better. And I mean, freaking Maggie's pregnant, dude.
Yeah.
What the, there's so many cool ways they could play this scenario out, but for some reason I just think they're going to end up doing it really cheap. That Madison death was horrible. Worst death in either show to date.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Disappointing. The only saving grace for this show right now is the reset that it's put itself in.
Alrighty.
Can you tell I'm a little fired up about it?
Yeah.
All right, are we done? Did you have anything else you wanted to say on it?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything.
All right.
All my major gripes.
I know I kind of dominated the show there a little bit with my bitching, but I think it's justified.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And let's wrap this up and get a rating.
Let's
Chris.
rate it. All right, so let's see. 1 out of 5. This is something we talked about before the show. We didn't talk during the show. The walkers in the stadium, how they were conveniently around or not around, depending on how it played out for the story.
Mm-hmm.
That was horrible.
Yeah. So 1 out of 5 magic teleporting walkers.
Let's go with that. 1 out of 5 magical teleporting walkers. Jason, what is your rating?
I'm gonna give it a 2. 2 magical teleporting walkers.
2 of them. I'm not even gonna give it that much. I'm giving it the same as last week. I would have given this episode more, but that crap with Madison at the end, that was horrible. Absolutely horrible. I almost want to give it another 0.5 because in there's a little Easter egg there in Al's little cases there of tapes. There is actually one for Abe and Eugene.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
I missed that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool, but that's not... No, sorry. The Madison death was pretty horrible. 1.5. Knock it off. It's 2 1.5s in a row. Yeah.
Well.
So we're done until August, at least as far as Fear the Walking Dead goes. We will be doing some other stuff in that time. I know that next week we will be reviewing Cargo, and you're going to get some Walking Dead from us during this break in between the season here. But yeah, you'll probably be getting some other reviews and stuff from us as well. But that is going to do it for now. Jason, any last words for the first half of this season? Do we want to rate the first half of the season? Do we want to give that a rating?
Sure.
All right. First half season rating, 1 out of 5. Potentially awesome stadium homes that just were underutilized and just didn't get enough time.
That's a mouthful.
It is. So you don't have to say that again.
I'll give it 3 stadiums out of 5.
3 stadiums out of 5.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it 2.5. There was some really good stuff. But really, this season, this mid-season or this first half was really a story of the good and the bad.
Yeah. It was very much, there were very few, if any, mediocre episodes. The episodes were either very good or very bad this season.
Yeah. Get it together over there, people. All right. Okay, that's going to do it for us. So, check it. If you want, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Check out what we're going to be doing in between this break. But otherwise, if we want to see you back here in August, when the show returns, we return for more reviews of Fear the Walking Dead. Until then, any last words, Jason?
Yes, protect your necks from zombie bites.
He's always got the best advice for you. I mean, yeah, not even just zombie bites though, but like dog bites,
yeah,
wolf bites, shark bites.
Just remember, kids, if it's wet and not yours, don't put it on your body or in your mouth.
Oh my God. I will not agree to that. There are conditions and terms to that are not true. Nothing? Okay.
Now,
Okay, that's it for us. See you guys in August.
bye.
Hey people, thank you for tuning into this episode and taking a listen. If you like our content, if you like what you're listening to, there anything we go over, hey, please, we would not only love to hear more from you, but if great if you could throw some support. You can subscribe right below. Also, you can toss us a line anytime. That's ksawmedia@gmail.com. Of course, you can tune in for our channel anytime for movie reviews, game reviews, a lot of random wacky stuff. Who knows what you'll hear. And of course, our episode each week where we're bringing the nerdiest things we can find, dig up, and maybe not find, maybe the stuff that just drops in our laps. But anyway, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We hope to hear from you again later. Take care.